Hello everyone and welcome to episode 21 of the Dead podcast. We're going to title this one Valve Listen to Us, blank, because they've got rid of teleporters on the side lanes.
They did. They got rid of them. They killed them, took them around back, and then took them out for a very nice meal. Obviously, that's what happens.
You'd hope so. Hope so.
And then they let them go.
Actually, you know what? No, don't give them a meal because they're bad. So,
bad.
Yeah, just get
Send
rid of
them away. Yeah,
They're gone. They don't
We've had
deserve
enough
a
of
last
you.
meal.
Fired. They're out. But yeah, so that was good. It was nice. Maybe they could have had a quick drink beforehand though, because we are now 21. We've officially hit American drinking age in the podcast lifestyle, which is good. But yeah, a lot of things happened last night. A lot of interesting things. The 2 hours, if you managed to play during that 2 hours, it was a little bit wild. We had holes in the map. Shops had changed positions. It was pretty crazy. But I think things got changed back. I think it was around about 2 hours. It didn't take long to fix it. They did good. They realised the mishaps fairly.
Yeah. It was a weird one. Because obviously, I suppose for anyone that missed it, it was patch night last night. Minor update by definition of Yoshi, but as we'll go into, I think it's actually quite a substantial patch. There was an awful lot that was changed. It was a good one for all accounts. Blank, I was really happy with this. I liked a lot of the changes that were slipped in. It felt like there was some stuff that I think we were both kind of asking for a while as well that went through. Some changes that maybe weren't expected by a lot of people in the community, but actually feel pretty good. We can get into those a little bit later. But a lot of stuff to dissect. But yeah, if you missed it, it was kind of a weird one, right? I suppose you boot up the map, you go in game, suddenly shops are in a different place. Was it mentioned in the notes? I quite liked the shop placement, to be honest, but it's gone now. They were adjacent to kind of the jungle camps towards blue lane, left and right hand side. But like you say, there was holes in the map, geometry was broken, some zip lines were missing, other things were a bit balked. And I think Yoshi said the quote for verbatim was effectively just it's a buggy version of the map. We shipped a weird version of the map. We're working on it. There's some problems. And like you say, it was fixed pretty quickly. But it was interesting. I imagine, obviously, you probably got the different forks of the game that Valve were working on in the office. They shipped the wrong one. We got a weird map for a couple hours.
Just a couple hours, though. So if you got games in during that time, you had a not experience, put it that way. But yeah, plenty of changes. Like you said, minor. It was very much like a quotation marks minor update. I think there were a lot of people who were a little bit disappointed in it though. I think that there was a lot of talk of the amount of patch notes that came through. People were disappointed with the amount that came out. I think honestly it addressed a lot of the core problems though. Like some of the changes that were thrown in here were stuff that we needed. For instance, like I said before, we shot side lane teleporters, back of the head, they're gone. We got rid of mid-arch being a problem,
Yes,
which is a big one, because I think we were just talking about just then that it feels unfun to play against a Yamato or a Lash or a Sinclair in mid lane when they just sit up top. I think we talked about this a little bit last time, where you can challenge them, but some it's just not even worth doing. It was just an unfun interaction in the game. So I'm glad they got rid of that. There's still plenty of ways to get strong lash jumps in mid. Just takes a little bit more skill than, double jumping up to the top of mid arch. So yeah, fair few things came through. But they were big changes. And as much as you might want to think this is a small one, again, this was classified as a minor update, which means the big update is on the way at some point.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the thing. Obviously, a lot of that stuff, like you say, was stuff that we kind of discussed. I think that was episode 19. Both of those we kind of hit home about. We were saying how, like, right now the macro in the game just is very forgiving. You can be pretty bad at it.
Yeah.
And there's no reward or negatives in terms of that. You can be out of position, just quickly TP. You dominate a lane, quickly TP. Back and forth like ping pong. Some games, late games, well, for teams ahead, bro, it just felt like there was no opportunity to ever even get certain Guardians because they could rapidly rotate between both. You just get banged out, so it's problematic. So I'm glad both of those were targeted in one patch. Obviously, we gave the suggestion, put it outside of the soul range. They went for the nuclear approach of just gutting it, but I actually do think that's better because, like you say, that doesn't fix the issue of a Sinclair popping a Samantha the assistant up there or whoever it is shooting down Savannah, not Samantha. Even. Yeah. It's just a pain in the arse, basically, with the gameplay mechanics that came from it. Aesthetically and for the design of the lane, I think it's good. But this is better. Having it blocked off is better. But yeah, as a whole, bro, like I would actually say, I think right now the problem is you've got a lot of people that knee-jerk react to just, if it isn't a content patch, they get very upset and they want something more. They want something greater. But again, obviously, like we say every time, you've got to slap that sticker on of it. It's an in-development, early test for a game. For me, these are the changes that are more interesting. This is the stuff where, like, we're in the weeds of figuring out how stuff works, how to make it better. And everything they fixed in here is stuff that I think we've complained about at one time or another for the past couple of weeks and should make the gameplay loop as a whole better.
What I will say as well is that I think if you're looking at this patch, I think there's some very pleasing things in here as just someone from the public who enjoys the game. Because the one thing I looked at in particular was added an option to allow cancelling abilities with the ability key to the main options page, which is a fantastic change. A lot of people really enjoyed that. For instance, there are certain abilities which are awkward being on the spacebar key or just not what you'd want in that moment. I think, for instance, like having Vindicta 2 on being able to cancel that on 2 as well allows you to more easily make some of the more interesting mechanical movements where you can cancel it whilst doing a backdash and getting a lot of height that way. Just stuff people would like to have back. But the big thing about that is that Valve's listening. I think there was patches about maybe let's say 2 months ago where the patches coming in, people were like, we don't like this. This is not what we want. Not sure why you changed this either. I don't think it was necessary. The fact that they've given an option to this back means that they are actively listening. And I think we're definitely moving back away from a case of we're just going to do things and throw them in, see what works. This case of actually the public just wants to be able to cancel abilities on their own keys again. So let's put it back.
I think that's fair as well. And I think that easily is the better way to do it as well. Like if internally, after nearly a year now, we're coming up to it's like 11 months since the first people got their public access to the game back in the testing days. You've gotten used to things. And if you suddenly force rebind a key, which you can't manually rebind to a whole different default bind, I think just giving people the option, it's always the right solution. Like it should never be a blanket change this late in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just you're just going to alienate people. And some people like the old system. Some people like the new system. Give them both a chance. Let them do what they want. So yeah, I think again, quality of life stuff was good. It was a nice little addition. It's one of those that you could overlook, but it is a good change.
Mm-hmm. Now they're changing soul orb stuff. I think that's the next thing I wanted to talk about. Was a case of they increased spawn delay. Soul orb size was increased. There was lag compensation buffer was increased as well from 120 ms to 140. Not sure how I feel about this change because right now, all in all, a good change, by the way. It is a good change. I'm not sure how I feel about it for other reasons, which is a case of we constantly come back to this issue of deniers are too easy to get or deniers are too hard to acquire. So when are we going to start going down the direction of do we just get rid of deniers entirely? Like, I don't want to. I like the way the deny system works, but I think it's hard to balance around. It really is hard to balance around. I want to see how this works. I think everything in there I enjoyed. I liked. Issues with denying melee solos was a big one. That one's got fixed as well, which is good. But it's the 0.2 to 0.7 soul orb delay. Like when it pops out to 0.4 to 0.7, making it so it's longer to pop out from the creep as well. I don't want to be hanging around after I get lasted, or hanging around after a trooper dies. It's
fair enough.
It's a weird one.
it's very micro variance though. Like
It
0.4
is. It's
milliseconds
literally
isn't
0.2
even.
milliseconds.
That's what I mean. It's not even enough where I'd say hanging around comes into question. From practice, from like feeling it, I think it is better. The orb size in general feels nicer. It feels like it's a better base level for you to be able to get shots off onto it, which makes it a little bit fairer if someone's pre-firing, if you're a shotgun hero or not, which was otherwise the bigger problem we had a couple months back, about a month ago, you remember. And I think if you factor in all of the changes now from when we got the first iteration of the new Soul system with the 3-lane map, where last hits weren't really a thing anymore, this feels way better. It certainly feels a little bit tighter in terms of the timing for some of the stuff like pre-firing. I think it is better. Overall, again, it's just one of those where they're going to have to keep playing with it. I don't think you can ever just really decide to outright get rid of the deny system, because then you'd have nothing to do in lane. If you think about it in that sense, you would just only fight. And creep would basically just be something that granted you a staggered amount of power over the course of the laning phase.
It'd be one of those things where you'd be going back to the last hit mentality, right? I kind of like the system that they've created here. It's just finicky, though. Definitely finicky. But they're still playing around with it. I need to play more games on this patch as well, figure out how I feel about it. But again, that's the only one that I'm like slightly iffy about. And it's a change of 0.2 milliseconds, like you said. That's the only thing that I'm upset about right now. I think that's fine. That's fine.
Inherently, though, like it does feel a bit nicer. It feels like you can fight for confirms and denies, which I think is the most important thing. It shouldn't feel weighted to one side or the other. It shouldn't ever be a matter of you're in a game where it just feels like someone is getting every single deny without fail every time. You're not even seeing them spawn. And it shouldn't feel like you can't contest. I like this so far, obviously limited sort of amount of time I've had to test it, but it feels more like it is a bit fair in the sense that it spawns in, we both have a fair shot, not the Wraith is just holding mouse one where it's going to be and then get it before I even see it pop up, which is what I felt like was happening for a while with the current iteration of the system. Yeah,
because not only that, it kind of caused a problem in terms of development for Valve as well, with heroes and characters, and specifically gun development. Like, you don't want to have to get rid of interesting weapons, like, for instance, Warden. It's a slow-firing single shot. You've got Holiday Geist in there. You don't really want to be getting to a point where you have to consider, well, do we need to make guns fire faster? Do we need to make them have spread to them so that people can actually get denies, and that becomes a part of why you want to play that hero? Obviously, it's going to have some bearing on it, but like Grey Talent, I would expect Grey Talents to have to practice a little bit to get used to denying and confirming, but it should never be a case of like, I am gimping myself by playing this hero when it comes to denying and confirming.
I mean, the things I said to him before, like when I've done some of the feedback, I've said one of the options is that you should just do it so everyone just has basically like a base level of weapon that works for souls confirming, and then everything else is normal. So if you imagine like shotgun heroes fire one ghost bullet that isn't visible, but it's center shot, lined up 1-to-1 with the crosshair. So it is more a skill check of, is your crosshair on the soul? Yes, no, okay, you can have it. Not buckshot spread, randomly kills 7 souls from half the map away.
This is the shift problem, right? It's
right?
The shift right-click problem. Yeah, shift right-click also is a bit busted. Where
you don't even have to aim, it's just...
You don't, you just aim in the general direction.
It's just like mist on a sprinkler.
And I think, to be honest with you, people don't notice it too much because up until you get past like Phantom Ascendant, people don't abuse it that much on Shiv, where they're more used to confirming, denying just with left click. But as soon as you start getting to that point where people are using right click to deny and confirm, you're like, wow, this is unfair. Ghost Bullet could be a good idea.
It's a concept. Again, it might feel a bit disjointed because then obviously it's not going to 1-to-1 match the spread of your pellets and stuff like that. But I'm just thinking like from an idea of... Again, I mean, the other issue is this is something that's balanced towards the top end. As much as it is a core mechanic of the game, like you say, lower ranks, even up towards Archon, bro, like people aren't actually fighting for their life when it comes for confirming or denying.
Yeah, it is a very boring
They just
lane.
get what they get. But in reality, like, you do want to punish your opponent by denying as many souls as physically possible. Like, that should be the key point. So if one hero is innately vastly better at it, finding a way to globally balance them might be the direction. But I understand, obviously, there's pros and cons with that system. It's just an idea of it might be worth looking into seeing, or just make everyone have shotguns.
Speaking of shotguns, no longer doing too much damage to Guardians anymore.
Yeah.
Which is very nice. I was watching DFN a couple of weeks back, and again, that seems to be like a big consideration. I mean, Pocket was included a lot, just because strong. Abrams used a lot in lane. Just getting down Guardians was so important. I think it's less of a thing now that sideline teleporters are removed, because the whole point of getting a Guardian down as soon as possible was so that you could roam using the teleport to the other lane. But that's a good change. Not a good change. It's a good fix. It's a good fix. It's a problem, very much a problem. So Guardians should be a little bit tanky. And I think we complain about this a lot as well, where it's a case of Guardians are kind of weak. They felt kind of weak. They just fell over a lot. So that should help. Because, I mean, Calico was used a lot. I don't know if Yamato left click counts as a shotgun. It might do, because it is shurikens technically, and it's more than one burst. So maybe that was also affecting Yamato. So a lot of the popular characters were all benefiting from this unexpected thing going on the back end. This might help you out in lane, which is good. It's good news.
I think in general, clearly it was something where, like, I was trying to have a look at it to see what the difference is, but it seems more like effectively it was just the pellets rather than them sort of, flagging for the one tag of damage with the collective shots. It was almost like it was applying a second layer of damage again. Yeah, like each pellet would register, but then some of them would register again. So you'd get the chest and headshots off, and it would mess up basically the damage of how it's supposed to apply it. So it was just dealing the extra damage, which is literally, it's one of those where I think, again, probably initially you're going to be like, oh, it feels like I don't do as much damage. That's probably for the best, because otherwise, when we sit here and we say, oh, they need to make Guardians stronger, that's going to throw wind to that, right? If there's a whole
were they already strong enough?
Yeah. So at least like this is good. I think this change, and like you say, gutting side lane teleporters should feel nicer, because you get those lanes where it is like you get the Pocket, you get the Abrams in lane, they take your Guardian, they get like 2 kills onto you, you don't have that zipline boost to get back in lane, your Guardian's gone. This is like 5 minutes into the game, something like that. It just feels like it snowballs so quickly. So if that fixes that, and then they can't zip over to the other side of the map, perfect.
I think there was a game from One Win versus VP that I watched where ABL, who's obviously an incredible player, by the way, him alongside, I think it was another shotgun character in lane, in mid, they took mid Guardian at 3 minutes 30. That throws everything into disorder right at that
That's
point.
not normal.
Losing your mid Guardian at 3 minutes 30 is just bad. So I just don't think that should ever be a possibility. We'll see how this pans out, which is why I don't think there's any changes to Guardians, because I want to see how it's going to work going forward. Speaking of removing out lane teleports, we already talked about at the start here. It's good. We'll teleport back to it right now. That conversation. Sprint speed being increased by 0.5 no longer feels as arbitrary anymore, because if you're removing outer lane teleporters, you need to be able to get around the map a little bit faster to compensate for it.
You've got to remember, this is 3 lane changes, right? We go from 4 lanes to 3 lanes. We get 0.5 increase on sprint. Then what? A couple of weeks ago, we get 0.5 increase on sprint.
It was just, that was the patch.
Now we also get a 0.5 increase in sprint. So since 3 lanes has been brought in the space of a month, we've got 1.5 increased move speed on all heroes across the board globally. That's now in. And it feels way better. It looks a little bit silly on some heroes. Like Holiday's base animations for sprint, she looks a bit wacky because she's running so fast, like a Benny Hill movie.
Like back to 7 with Boundless Spirit back in the day.
Yeah, literally like zipping, Rocky Balboa and around the map. But I will say, this is easily the thing that I think people aren't seeing the bigger picture with. I've seen a lot of people that have gone, oh, this is ridiculous. You've got rid of the teleports. This sucks. Game's going to suck. Now. No one's going to rotate ever. I keep seeing that. People are saying, no one's going to rotate. How am I supposed to go from side lane to side lane? How am I supposed to go fight mid? You're supposed to by running there and using the bounce pads, which is what Valve wanted the entire time. And now they've literally been subtly bumping sprint, so it's not all in one go, but you are way quicker. The travel time between side lane to side lane is drastically quicker when running now. It gives you a reason to gank mid lane, gives you a reason to go from mid lane to side lanes, but not just bounce from one outer lane to the other, ignoring mid until you've destroyed both and then gang up like a group. They've actually solved it. Like those two changes back to back will make macro more important and should make the game feel better. Also feels funner in terms of movement. So I think those are actually bangers, and people are just going, this is silly, but that's sick.
That's what I'm trying to say, is that I think people are ignoring the sprint changes for what they are, because they're in conjunction with the changes being made now. It's actually a really big deal. And I really like what you talked about at the start with macro, because macro is important. And at the end of the day, this is what I would describe as a MOBA like. And we're getting closer to a true MOBA mentality, which I think is good. I think it's good for the game. Because like you're saying, it's so disheartening going into a game that it is technically a MOBA where there is several lanes, or 3 lanes in this case, to defend and make sure you're taking objectives. And the main goal is leave one lane clearer on mid, on blue, and then group of us 5 and then take each lane individually. Like that's not fun. And the reason it was allowed is because it was never worth it to 2-man split push. It was possible, but not really worth it, because that 5-man group could just all TP to the other side and annihilate you as 2. In which case you've given away 2 free kills and probably not even got the objective. So yeah, that's rough. So this is much nicer now. Will require a little bit more coordination, and I think it will likely bump people out of Oracle. Most likely, I think Oracle is where you go to die in terms of whether your macro's up to scratch, and Archon is like, are your mechanics good? Get to Oracle if you want to get to Phantom Ascendant, your macro's got to be good there. And I think because they've made the sprint speed increases without removing the teleporters, it made rotating so incredibly simple that a lot of people were able to bump up into Oracle because their mechanics were good and never really punished their macro.
No, I think inherently this is literally everything we were asking for in terms of hitting the nail on the head of solving the problem of rapid lane snowballing with no possibility of rotating. Because again, one of the big issues with that was we were saying like mid lane players leaving to go assist side lanes resulted in the side lane dying and the mid lane dying. Most likely the other lane also dying the minute the teleport's open.
Because they were able to rotate across to help so quickly. It's like there should be no world where blue lane rotates to green and then green goes, can yellow help? They're on the other bloody side of the map. That shouldn't be a possibility in the first place. And again, I didn't like that because, like you say, it punishes you for trying to go for a gank to help another lane. I don't think that should be the case. The mentality that we were getting into, and I think a lot of people were getting into, was like, if green lane's losing, crap, I'm probably going to lose my game, but I can't go help them either. Like, there's no point.
You had to just accept it. It was a matter of like, you literally, it was the Darwin system of Deadlock. Like, if you can't win and survive, you have to die. Sorry. Like, there was nothing that could be done. So I think inherently this is way better because it's fine. You know what? Like the Walker TPs, you can keep those. If you want to bounce from Walker to Walker and have the opportunity to be able to defend them, and you know what, Walkers are very important pieces of the game. Like, I get it. It kind of makes more sense from an objective standpoint. It's also later into the game where the fights can be a little bit lengthier. You can group up. You need those rotates. I think that's okay. I prefer when we did have the more asymmetrical teleporters that weren't one side to the other. But if we're going to keep these, whatever. The problematic ones were how quick games snowballed from the lane to lane TPs. And it made everything else Valve did to try and make this version of the map play in a similar way not work. Exactly, because you weren't using the bounce pads, you weren't using the rotates, you weren't running around. Sprinting and sprint items used to be something we would talk about in droves all the time. So like, got to buy sprint items. Felt like that kind of went out the window because there was no reason to ever be running anywhere. You just go, well, I'm in here, I'm out, you know, and you TP, and that was it. Now it actually feels like the point of the game again, it is once again like you have to contest things properly, you can roam and you can gank, which I think as well people don't realize. They complain a lot that one of the things they say they hate from moving away from 4 lanes to 3 lanes is that they don't think they get to gank. They don't think they get to go anywhere and they just TP. If anything, this now makes it so you can choose to go blue lane and help your blue lane.
This is what I was going to say as well, because it's a very, very important thing to bring up. Is the case of, yes, we sort of killed ganking, but it wasn't for the case of ganking wasn't worth it. It was a case of you just never wanted to. There was 0 point to it with the teleporters been in play because help came so quickly a lot of times. And the map is all designed around being able to move from lane to lane. You just couldn't go about it with the teleports being in. I think this new patch is awesome because it's going to be more akin to how people felt like free lane should have been when it first released. So I'm really excited to see what people were able to do on this. We've already talked about top mid arch being removed. Thank Christ for that one. That was so annoying. There is some really interesting stuff in here, which I don't know if many people picked up on. But life still provided by things like Soul Shredder bullets now properly diminishes, and that on top of Spell Slinger headshots providing more bonuses than intended. I think you got to a stage of the game where Yamatos, Infernuses, and who else? Lady Geist were kind of problematic in terms of the lifesteal they were getting. I see many clips of Infernuses healing 2,000 HP over the space of 5 seconds. Shouldn't happen anymore. I think a lot of people did already know that Spell Slinger headshots were a little bit bugged. But if you didn't, now you do, but it's fixed, so you can't abuse it anymore. So again, these are really good because I do think lifesteal overall and spell lifesteal was problematic on a lot of characters. This should fix that because I think Spell Slinger headshots were not providing more bonuses than 10. I think they were providing double bonuses, which is a crazy amount of value for 3K.
Yeah, it is mad. It's also things were procking off other items that weren't intended to, basically, was a big reason of why they targeted some of these things to do with lifesteal and stuff like that. It was also how things were interacting with other items. And we had that a lot, especially earlier into Deadlock's life cycle, where things would intentionally cause procs from other things. So I think, again, it's just the case of some of the newer items had issues like that were overlooked. But this has been happening on and off for ages, where you remember for a while it was also like how damage multipliers were applied to each individual bullet of shotgun heroes. Always shotgun heroes and items having weird issues. But that took a while for Valve to get through. So I suppose it is just kind of combing through and finding these things and slowly fixing them. But again, bugs be bugs. I suppose it is worth getting rid of any of these issues. If it was unintentionally making players stronger, it makes it harder to balance stuff. So I'm not going to be upset. Same kind of vibe for that entire segment, really. That was just they've isolated some bugs or things that weren't working properly, right?
Yeah.
Like Ice Path, in terms of the mispredictions it's listed as, which I suppose in how it's generating movement, also server side, it always felt kind of laggy. For a while now, it felt like it was something that was a bit sort of buggy and innately how it would work.
Do you remember when it used to like shake your whole screen when you were ice pathing? That was
there was a lot
time.
of weird stuff like that. I think that is just the nature of Kelvin and Ice Path. Like it's a weird ability with how it works. It's obviously just spawning in geometry. But yeah, like that whole segment is basically like they are listening, which I think we've mentioned many times. Like you should be writing stuff from the forums if there's issues. I think at this point as well, like even if a Reddit post makes it to the front page of Reddit, someone's probably going to get linked to it. And people were talking about the Edge case with rejuice being stolen a lot. That was really flavor of the month about a week ago, I think. That was blowing up all the time. People
it was all over
clips.
Reddit, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's obviously where that feedback then got past the masses who maybe made a thread about it or whatever, but by some means that got to Valve. And they fixed that one super quick. So again, that's good. That's been identified as a bug, not meant to happen. And they've banged that out. But again, like this whole segment here, it's just nice to see. Like we say every time, man, if there is issues that you don't like, you think is a bug, just keep talking about it and it probably will eventually get fixed.
Yeah, I mean, there's stuff in here. Again, I think when we look at a lot of these problems, they are the major problems.
Yeah.
And I think that it's one of the best patches they've done in a while just because it's a case of they've addressed all the most important stuff which are causing problems in the game. I mean, Spell Slinger headshots should not have been in the game for as long as it was in its bug currently in its previously bugged state. So they've selected that, got rid of that. Sideline teleports, that's a big deal. Mid arch is a big deal. Overall, like although we've only gone through like maybe a third of the patch notes right now, these are all incredibly important and very, very good changes that they've brought through. Not to mention like the new Ivy Viscous and Magic Carpet moving faster than desired with Soul Urn. Frustrating. I mean, I had definitely abused this on Ivy. You know what? I wonder if they've fixed teleporter bug with Ivy.
Ooh.
Do you want to test that right now?
It might be worth having a check. Well, because the thing is, I think, why didn't they fix that? Because they fixed Bebop being able to TP with it.
You can still do it. I was
Is
doing
it still
it.
possible?
I wasn't doing it.
He's doing it in his games.
I was
He's
doing
doing it
my
for the
games.
elo.
I was doing it in my
elo.
games. Please don't report me.
Yeah, I mean,
there's definitely bugs with it. I think you can still do the bebop one. You can do the Sinclair one as well.
also though, the thing is with that is inherently.
Oh, it required the
even-
sideline teleporters.
As I was going to say, even if inherently the bug itself still exists, it might not matter because you've got rid of the side lane CPs, which were the problematic ones.
Yeah.
You can't line up hooks from walker to walker. You wouldn't
It's
be able
not
to get
worth it going to the walker anyway. Yeah.
for the rotate. It's not going to help. Like, it's really not going to help. So that might not actually matter, even if it is still a bug. You've unintentionally
You
solved
kind
it.
of got rid of
Yeah.
it. Okay, well, that's good. All right, we're fine. We don't need to talk about that anymore then. That's perfect. So yeah, anyway, I think that we looked into this before we started the podcast because I think we wanted a little bit more info on it. For Ivy Viscous and Magic Carpet, although they don't, although you are getting the max speed limit from level 1, so that means as soon as you get your ults online or Magic Carpet online, which is probably going to be a little bit later, Ivy and Viscous will be hitting the max speed possible, which is 15 meters per second, which is already pretty good. If it's the first turn you're taking, you also, because the skybox was increased in terms of the limit, you get to fly over a lot of geometry that you would have had to gone round before in the early game. So I still think that Ivy Viscous have a place in the meta when it comes to running the urn. So that's good. It's still good. And 15 meters per second is actually quite fast. You're definitely going to notice a difference in terms of speed. You need duration extender. I tested that to get across the map on Ivy. But honestly, I still think she's good for taking the urn. It's just no longer free low in terms of getting soul count.
Well, that was the problem. I think that's the bigger issue with it, is that every hero had a speed cap, bar Ivy. She was the only one that still was able to negate it. And yes, it took some skill with getting the timing off, but obviously a very minute amount. Once you get the timing down of when to press it, you can press it every time. And for how quick it was, in some games, you would have Ivies that default your role would be support Ivy urn carrier, because you would be able to get that urn for free time and time again. Mass farm up. You could get people back into games. You could get people to a point where they couldn't be touched in games as well. So I think inherently, it's good. It's good that that's been nerfed in the way that they've done it, but it's also not a bad nerf. That's the thing. Again, this is one of those changes, like we were saying, right? Where if you just read the notes and don't get in there and play around with it, you might be thinking, oh, okay, so they've made it so I run at 15 meters and that's it. But it's not. Obviously, that's that speed limit, which does mean other heroes can still scale around it. So like Ice Path isn't completely in the bin. It's still viable. If anything, now it's slightly more viable because your speed cap will accommodate how fast you can go with it, which actually I think is better, because the Ice Path Kelvin meta for rotates with Urn, I think, was one of the cooler timelines where it still did take a little bit of skill and you could set your teammate up and you could run the Urn together as a duo or solo. So I still think that's good. Some are obviously still kind of buggy with it, like Infernus, if you wall run with his flame dash, you can then grab the urn, but that actually caps your speed vastly lower. That's like 13 meters a second instead of the 20. So it's really not even worth doing.
Yeah, there's stuff like that. And again, I think we might get back to the timeline of, like you say, with Ice Path, in the previous patch, it was a case where you just picked up the urn yourself with Ice Path and ran it, because you go very fast.
Yeah.
But now we're going to go back to the timeline where someone else picks up the urn and you take the ice path to the other side, because you're moving much quicker and you can create a longer ice path. So that's cool. I like that there's still ways to help your teammates out, and urn requires a little bit more planning if you want to do it effectively. Also for Ivy and Viscous, if you want to get the timing down perfectly, you self-cast whatever the ability you need when it hits the G in bring the soul urn the other side of the map. So just that's a really quick and easy way to do it. The simplified way that I learned, at least. So yeah, there you go. And urn reveal time reduced from 25 to 15. I think that was good. That was a very good change, because it's very frustrating when the enemy team took urn off you to deny it with no intention of placing it in. Having them revealed on the map much earlier means you can hunt them down, at least before they take it all the way back to base through their own jungle. So yeah, I like that. That's good overall. Great changes in terms of urn.
No, I think it's good. Inherently, again, that's another nice one where like you balance some of the more problematic instances, but you don't actually punish players, which I think is what a lot of them thought was happening here, where I did see people going like, oh, this sucks. I enjoyed using Ivy for this. Why isn't it a thing anymore? It still is. It's just probably more fair in the grand scheme of things. And overall, like you say, I also think that is a better change. I also think, in reality, for what it was, it should still be the straight-up one-to-one. You are just revealed instantly and are revealed the whole time. Because the urn is supposed to be a mechanic that requires both teams to know what's happening and force fights. Like, it's supposed to be a focal point on the map where you go, they're going to get a power spike or you can. They're trying to get back in the game or you can stop them. You should fight for this. To actually make players aware of what's going on and use it in that way. So I think, if anything, even just having it like that, where it is just the raw, as soon as you pick up the urn, bro, you silenced and revealed, your teammates have to group with you and play around you, would be the better way to do it. But 15 seconds is a damn sight better than 25.
Yep, massively. Again, that's the whole point of it, is to play with your team. And without sideline teleporters now, you do have to really group up. You can't stay on green and then just teleport across. So overall, good change. Wall jumps behavior have been changed. People upset about this one, and I think that realistically the change that was integrated here is a good change. There's just bugs of it. Infinite wall jumps shouldn't be in. Double wall jumps removed, that should still be in. I think this is going to be a case of you'll likely get another patch fairly shortly addressing that. I think it's good though being able to directly wall jump upwards now as opposed to always away from the wall. Means that we limit the amount of times that you have to, again, being able to, I think a lot of people have pushed heavy melee ledge grabbing into their kit, and it is a cool one. It's not as necessary anymore. There are still some edge cases, edge cases, where you still need to use it, but most of the time you can just literally go up against the wall, press upwards, and you're fine. So yeah. I actually really like that change. Making it easier in general for casual players to have access to fun movement is always a good idea, in my opinion.
But also, like, overall, that's another one where, like, when people look at this patch, and I saw people saying, like, oh, we've waited a month, and this is what they've given us. It's actually a banger patch. Like, inherently, even in the way that they've done this, you have kind of reworked the movement system in one foul swoop, but it feels pretty good. And you've made things pretty seamless in terms of being able to get now more height, better rotations, more, I don't know, sort of depth to the movement as well, potentially, with how far you could push this once you get used to the new system. Like, loads of this feels really good. You kind of actually made ropes feel good, where before, sometimes players would latch onto a rope and it would work, but your momentum would stop and it'd be a bit awkward. Sometimes you would jump at the rope and do fuck all. Like, ropes inherently have been buggy and dodgy since they've been added to the game months and months and months back. Yep. But like, this makes them feel a little bit nicer. You actually still have momentum. It feels a bit more seamless. Feels like it locks on a little bit more consistently. So I don't know if that's something they also changed there. The zipline change is unreal, by the way. I don't know how on earth we made it nearly a year of the game without this being a thing. This is unbelievable.
I was watching the patch notice last night and I saw that part and I was like, oh, that is a lovely change that I didn't even pick up on when I was reading through the patches. So fun, because the amount of times that, especially if you've taken lane guardians, not lane guardians, base guardians, and or you have zipline speed boost from movement buff, the amount of times you jump on a zip and you're halfway back to base before you know it, you're like, oh, I was meant to go the other way. Being able to just be able to turn around on the rope that's a really nice change. It's a change that I can get behind. I also like the idea of juking that you mentioned
that's what
as well.
I mean.
It's so cool.
Because obviously you're so inherently used to the idea, if he's running towards me and jumps on a zip, he's going to keep that momentum going forward. But all you've got to do is press S whilst running forward. You jump on, turns you around on the rope. That's way better. And that's one that, like, you can read and see it as a patch note, but it's not instantly going to make sense. But then when you try it out in game and see how it works, it does feel way better. That's something that felt like it should have been in the game the entire time. And just, it makes movement better, makes using zip lines better. Overall, like, the whole movement segment, bar what are probably identifiable as bugs and things that will need time to be ironed out, is better. This movement pass definitely tightens up the game. I think as well, when you then tighten up what they've done here with movement, keeping momentum as a general rule of thumb, include then how much quicker we are baseline now in the game compared to last month at this time. 1 meters overall since last month, you potentially 1.5 as well, depending on what timeline you go from here.
Yeah.
the whole game just feels better in terms of rotations, even sluggier, slower heroes like McGinnis's, stuff like that, right? Like you actually feel like you can get around a lot more. And I remember every time we've ever spoken about this game, and I've spoken about like, oh, I love Source Engine movement. I love the way it feels. The best bit is this is like all the best elements of Valve Source Engine movement with what kind of feels like Titanfall in the third person. This is like the Titanfall patch, but they've literally gone 1-to-1. How can we remove the janky interactions and make them seamless? And that's what they've done.
Side note, very quick. Did you see Titanfall 3 leaks?
See, well, I saw it. I didn't know if it was real because I feel like
don't know if
EA
it's
never
real
will.
either.
I'm going to Google it now.
I don't think it was real either, but if it is, I'm very excited.
It's rumoured for a 2026 release. But
which I think's way, way too quick.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be real with you right now, homie. EA as a studio, I think, have been gatekeeping the idea.
They hate good things.
No, it's not even that. They have been gatekeeping, letting Respawn make another game for years. Because if you're imagining, right, if you're EA, Respawn made Apex, it prints microtransaction monies. If they make a Titanfall's multiplayer was dope. Actually, way better than Apex Legends ever was.
More money.
I'm going to just go play that. You know what I mean? Like, why would I ever boot up Apex Legends again? It could kill their cash cow. So I think they just legit have never been letting them make the third game in the series. So it would have to be, it'd have to be a matter of Respawn being like, please, let's make the game. I beg.
No, you'll kill Apex. You'll kill Apex.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense. Overall, yeah.
It'd be fun, though. It would be cool.
I think it's very obvious that me and Jacky are both big fans of Titanfall 2. And I think we're both very happy with the way that the game is kind of getting a little bit closer in terms of movement. I don't think they'll ever add wall running as much as I'd love to.
I still think they will one day add a hero that can wall run.
A hero that wall runs would be ace.
Yeah. I think
really
give it. That's what I was saying to you before. But like, give it as an ability for a kit. So it's specific that a hero or a group of heroes, whatever, later on down the line, if we get like 800 of them by 2027. But I think that's the solution that would actually be a seamless way to do it.
Yeah, it would be cool. It'd be very, very cool. I'd like that. But probably not for every single character. These next changes, I don't think we're going to go through every single one of them, barring Infuser change. But overall, and if you want to find out more, you can go watch the patch notice. Very, very succinct. Went over all these things already. But yeah, there was changes to Calico, Holiday, Mirage, Seven, Sinclair. They were all nerfs. I think the major sentiment about this is that it's sweeping nerfs across the board for a lot of frustrating laning heroes to go up against. I don't think they touched Yamato or Lash because both got inherently nerfed from mid-arch getting removed. But there is a lot of good ones in here. I mean, Vexing Bolt was frustrating to go up against. Crow was frustrating to go up against. Crackshot, Powder Keg, Leaping Slash, and Health Growth on Calico. All these things are just frustrating things to deal with in the early game. And I think getting those changed now is a great idea because you don't want characters. I think that the issue they have run into recently is that there has been meta heroes comprising of a slot of 12. And I think the other characters within the suite just have not been used as frequently.
No, I think that's fair. Again, like looking at these changes when reading them as the notes came out, I think everything they did was fair. And I even saw with this, like some people were just like, oh, it's not even a nerf. And it's like, I don't know, bro. Like the nerfs to Calico specifically are factoring on just how annoying she was in terms of HP generation and tankiness. Going down to 34 per boon rather than 41 already, that's a big enough change where that's good. That's a good sizable amount of HP growth. She's not going to be constantly receiving every boon. You then also factor in like the reduction spirit scaling and the heal reduction itself for Leaping Slash. Leaping Slash, when stacking with like things that would give you melee lifesteal, that was the nightmare fuel scenario of her being able to Leaping Slash in, then slap you in the face. She gets not only the base level heal, but the stolen HP heal. It was just a pain. Like it felt awful to play against, where Calicos would be so tanky base level, but have so much mitigation for damage that they would just be annoying to play against. I actually think this was the bigger part of the kit that needed to be fixed, right? Like, yeah, gun Calico's a pain, and it can be really
Getting
horrible.
her out of lane was rough, honestly.
But this was the annoying thing for me, was how hard it was to kill her.
Yeah.
I think this will fix that.
Because, I mean, in lane especially, it's like getting a Calico out of lane because she's getting so much health per boon anyway, and the healing that she was getting in lane on top of that, It was a crazy amount. I mean, even if we look at the Crow Familiar duration spirit scaling reduced from 0.3 to 0.024, that is a change of 0.006. Once they've got things down to a science, they are reducing spirit scaling by kind of minor amounts. I don't think people are realizing just how much removing 0.5 spirit scaling is off of leaping/heal. It's a gargantuan amount. I think it's one of the heaviest nerfs we've seen in a while in terms of scaling on a single ability. So that's a big one. I think it will definitely help. Powder Keg was obviously still too strong. They've nerfed that twice now. I think having anything doing 240 damage at minute 5 is a problem, especially when you've got up to 3 charges of that thing quite early on. Yeah. Crack shot getting reduced was nice too. But yeah, the general sentiment is I think that they will have another patch where they'll probably reduce a lot more laning kits and just let them scale better into the end game. And the last thing from the patch here we'll touch on is Infuser. I'm a bit conflicted on this one. I think my sentiment, which is the nuclear option, would have been just to remove Infuser from the game or disable it currently whilst they worked on it. Everyone knows it's broken. It should be listed at a much higher price. I don't think it really needs to be in the game right now. Every spirit hero should be using it. If you're not using it, you're kind of gimping yourself by not doing it. I've even seen Paladins start building Infuser, which doesn't make any sense, but being able to have 300 damage arrows in lane of a 500 item literally from minute 1 is silly. So yeah. I'm glad that it got nerfed, but I do think that they should have just disabled it.
No, again, like it's definitely more flavor of the month item. It's been problematic for a very long time. We saw people having it in a lot of high-end builds. You know, it was always being used on wraiths for cards. You'd see it sort of being floated around a lot of heroes where it felt like more and more builds, and especially in sort of pro games as well, it was popping up more and more consistently. And you saw the potential for not only how much more sustain it could give you, but how much sort of, burst damage heroes could get.
Why... In what world should Mirage be building Infuser to literally pop after Jin's mark goes off? Like, you're investing 1 spirit slot for a very specific interaction just because Infuser gives you so much benefit on that one interaction. When you start building Infuser on technically gun heroes, let's say, that's when you know that there's an issue. So... Again, I think they should disable it. I think that they are very much attempting not to have to disable anything, though. I respect that. I don't think we've ever had a case where they've had to disable anything in game yet, or completely remove anything. So again, this feels like to me like a band-aid option, though. I think they'll rework this item again.
I think at most we've had heroes turned off for a few hours, but that's usually only when there's like a server crashing bug, like when Shiv was first released, when Viscus came out after a rework.
Shiv spinning under the map. That was good. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, that was fun. But yeah, again, man, Infuser is one of those where I imagine this is a temporary fix before there's a bigger solution later on down the line. It needs to change cost. It needs to change its stats, one or the other. Something there has to be adjusted for you to be able to basically make it viable in terms of how it works. Because right now, like you say, for such a low cost price, it's again one of those items where we spoke about a couple of times on the podcast that feels like it's become a meta item that you are trolling if you don't buy on a vast array of heroes for the amount of burst damage. Yeah. And that's the issue, is I don't think with how Deadlock was meant to be designed, there was ever the idea of these are your go-to picks. If you don't buy these, you're throwing the game. Mm-hmm. And they've been trying to fix a lot of those items that do that, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, a little bit of a nerf to reactive barrier, resto locket, a little bit of a nerf. Certain things have been getting changed. Has it fixed those? No, but are they better? Yeah. Again, similar thing here. Like, this is going to make it a bit more bearable, but it's still a problem. So I would hope or assume it would mean that long term we're going to get some sort of overhaul. But we've been speculating that for a while, especially based on a lot of the changes that you've been looking at, where it feels like there is segments of changes thrown in for items, but you're probably thinking about redoing it all, basically. And I wouldn't be that surprised, because we've had that happen a couple of times throughout the portions of Deadlock's lifespan at this point, where one day you wake up and everything is completely different. And it feels like we're getting back towards one of those precipices again. Because the hero changes make sense to make you think that as well when you look at certain things, because you are just fixing the core issues with them right now. It's not a massive rework, which we used to get all the time. It is just looking at what is annoying and targeting that, which I think actually summarizes this entire patch, like we said, where they've looked at basically what is the wide audience complaining about constantly. All right, these heroes
how can we fix them?
Arse is in lane, this item's a pain, this is a broken interaction. And they fixed it in a Valve way as much as they can for all of them.
Yeah, I think it's important to do it now as well, because we are waiting on that major patch to come through, the major content patch. But again, this is a case where I don't think that they could leave the game in the current state. I really like the fact that at the moment there is just so many strong changes coming through that basically make the game a lot more fun to play. Because before it just wasn't fun. It just wasn't fun. A lot of these interactions going on. I didn't want to play against a Lash in mid. I don't want to play a Yamato in mid.
No. It felt awful. And there was games where literally fundamentally that would make it unfun, where those laning phases were annoying because your options were you had to int one of your duo. Someone on your team had to basically fight for control of the mid arch to make it so the Lash couldn't sit on the mid arch, which inherently just felt annoying because it's kind of one of those where it's like, why don't we just shoot the guy? But then he's going to stomp on us. All right, I guess this makes sense, but neither of us are having fun anyway. If it's Yamato up there, you're just constantly getting bombed. The whole lane just felt annoying. And I think that's what summarized it, where those lanes just felt annoying. And at least now, with the indirect nerfs to both of those heroes and the things that they've changed, it should be a bit more fun again. Even if it's not more fun, it won't be as much of an annoyance to play those lanes. And I think that's the problem with mid, is it got jarring for me, especially with some of the more recent games we played, where if I got mid lane back to back to back, it's just like, I don't want to be in mid lane. Like, probably going to have to play against the Lash, probably going to have to play against the Sinclair. It's just going to be a bad time. So I'm actually really glad with these changes, because obviously that's the one we kind of overlooked as well, right? Like, you've adjusted Vexing Bolt there. They could have just nerfed its damage, just outright could have made it not deal as much damage. They didn't, but they've just made it so it's not off cooldown as much, and effectively just played with it a bit, so it's kind of, even at its best, it still is going to be off cooldown a lot less frequently, and you've switched it up so the cooldown comes later rather than its fire rate slow, which I think is better. I've seen some people saying that that could be interpreted as a buff, slowing down enemy fire rate. I think being whopped in the face quicker was way stronger than me not dealing damage to them. I'm content with avoiding fighting for a few extra seconds versus just having my HP bar nuked.
Yeah, exactly. Again, it's a frustrating interaction overall that you just don't want to go up against. The fact that you're able to... Again, fixation works a very similar way, where you can wait that one out, and you should wait that one out a lot of times. But in this case, he was like, man, I have to leave lane now. Like, that doesn't feel very enjoyable. If I got 2 stacks on me, I just wait it out. It's all good. So these are things that you want to see in the game at the moment. I hope that there's more changes like this in the future. Again, I think we're getting to the point now where being able to focus on a character's kit in the early game is a really positive sign, in my opinion, where then the characters can slowly get stronger as the game goes on. But you never want to have this case where a lane is predetermined early. Until we get to Captain's Draft, if that ever comes, a case where you can be like, right, there's a Mo and Krill on the enemy team, let me try pick up an Infernus, because it's going to be easy for me to tag up Afterburn and keep that lane under control as much as possible. But that's a counter pick, right? Counter picks are fine. And then you got to figure out how you want to play against those counter picks. But you never want to have a case where any hero that you pit up against a Yamato in mid or a Jin with a Kelvin duo, that's a losing lane. You never want that. You really you want it to be up in the air where I've made some good moves here. We've made some good moves in this lane. Technically, we should be winning. Oh, they suddenly hit me for 400 damage. I guess we lose this lane now. You'd never want that.
I think that's also that is overall what a lot of this balance patch focuses on, where it fixes instances like that where things were predetermined before you even had a chance. So obviously with Deadlock, kind of the more random nature of it, where you have the pick free system, but then good luck, whatever comp you get, whatever heroes you get, it's just up to the Valve matchmaking system to to deal you a good hand. And sometimes you can be owned from that alone, where your team's draft does just suck and it's going to be a real grindy game. You know what I mean? Maybe the enemy team's just entirely based early game and they steamroll the lane, so it's over. So I think with the changes you've made here, it fixes a lot of those issues at least.
It is frustrating though, because like you say, it does feel like a lot of coin costs a lot of time. Coin
toss.
I've
done that. Ironically, I've done that a few times at events. Actually, did that live on the BBC. We had to do a veto, and I was like, "We're gonna go live with a coin toss." The coin toss.
No, it's not. That's a crazy one.
It's hard to get it wrong deliberately. Though.
I know.
That's the thing.
Yeah,
like,
coin toss. It does feel like a coin toss sometimes, not a coin toss.
Toscan.
Toscan.
Come to Toscan. A holiday in Toscan.
I don't know what that was. That was me. That was me on holiday, apparently.
That's the news Lash voice line.
Got you.
That'd be a banger tone, but imagine he just stomps it. Yeah, he's fuck. What was that?
He's owned me.
Yeah,
Just
scream.
yelled at me. Crazy.
Just petrified himself.
Yeah, that would upset me if I died and it wasn't even a quip or anything. It's just yelled in my ear.
Just stimming in lane.
Yeah. It feels like a coin toss sometimes, where on the previous patch at least, I don't think I've had enough time to play this patch yet to come to similar conclusions, but where one team would get the primo comp and you would get the dregs, right? Which felt 100%. Really unfortunate. And I think this way around, there is so many problems being fixed and problems that were highlighted and then addressed that I don't think it will really matter what kind of team comp you get anymore, because a lot of the broken interactions are now gone. Again, Calico got nerfed. Hallelujah. I think everyone should be happy about that.
Papa bless.
Papa bless on that. Although it does feel a lot of times you've got Calico on your team, clueless. Calico on their team, god tier. So maybe it doesn't matter.
That's how they get you. See, this is Valve actually tests an AI where you can only play against the enemy heroes.
Yeah.
You just get bot versions just to see. They're trying to see if you'll snap. Yeah. To see how far it goes. But yeah, dude, like, again, man, genuinely, I actually think this is a great patch. I know it's one of those where you've got, like, the one half of the community that just, I don't know, they just want skins. They want the game to just be released. They want all the artwork to go in.
Not done yet.
But it just takes time, bro. Like, that's the thing, you know. Valve isn't a gigantic company as well. I know they make a lot of money and they make a lot of stuff, but inherently, like, they don't employ that many people. And they've got a lot of stuff they're working on, like Counter-Strike's getting updates. You've got Dota 2, probably working on the new Half-Life. They're making the new Steam Deck VR headset thing.
There's a lot going on at Valve.
That's what they're busy. And also, remember, that's the other thing as well. Like, I wouldn't be surprised, actually.
The other day. I think it was yesterday.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, they're shipping stuff regularly. You're getting into a cycle of, like, CS randomly gets an update, Dota gets an update, Deadlock gets an update. And Deadlock gets updates very frequently. For Valve games, Deadlock still gets updates very frequently. And it's the 5th of April now, for context. This probably end up going out tomorrow. But they usually have their, like, company holiday around this time of year as well. They all, like, go to Hawaii and stuff like that, basically, because they're a really nice company that takes care of their staff and wants people to be, like, relaxed and refreshed and put their best work in. So, again, I think if this is... we want a big major update. Yeah, we'll probably get one. But I imagine end of April now, thinking about the timeline, this is a good filler. And this is a good filler because you fixed all the issues of things that made me not want to play certain parts of the game. Like, you know what I mean? And if anything, you've actually made me want to play the game more because I want to run around quicker. I want to not be TP'd into my lane. I want to try out some of the things they've actually changed in terms of the map feeling better with the new speed changes. I want to try and fight for souls more. Like, again, I actually think if this is one of those, like, footnote updates that we get this, they go on holiday for the company holiday, we get a major update end of April, we're instead for a pretty good series of updates.
Yeah, the way things are starting to pan out, I think we can be pretty confident that at least in the next couple of months there will be a major update coming. I think sooner rather than later on that, in my opinion. So overall, this is a good time. Obviously, like Jacky says, I think it's it's a company vacation, right?
They do. So basically, they normally go. I know this because basically it got leaked a couple of years back. Basically, someone found one of the company coins they give the Valve staff on a beach in Hawaii.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They always go to Hawaii for vacation. Yeah, here you go.
Nice place.
Fred a year ago on the Counter-Strike subreddit, Valve take annual trips to Hawaii, and someone found their 2023 Hawaii pin. This is when CS2 was in beta. There's a picture of it here.
So are we taking a trip to Hawaii?
Go track them down.
Yeah, stalk them.
Where's the patch? have you got the patch on a laptop with you? But you can see what I mean. No,
I'll just look at them from afar.
But this is like a super common thing, basically. So here's another one. This is from 2019. That's what the pins look like. Valve love pins, by the way. We're going to end up getting some really cool Deadlock pins later on down the line, I'm sure, because they did it for CS. They've done it for Dota. They do it for the company. They love pins. Made me like pins. I never really cared for pins. But these days, quite like pins, because CS pins were cool. You can see those. Like, they go to Hawaii every year. It's a company holiday. It's around April. I don't really know the ins and outs. Don't go try and find them in Hawaii. That'd be weird. Any podcast listeners.
Don't do that because we want to do that.
Exactly.
You would give us away.
Mate, that would actually be unreal banter, though. Like, if we do just stage some pictures of us in Hawaii. Same time, tweeting them out, just going, having a great time in Hawaii, guys. Just freak people out. So, like, they're on the Valve company trip. Like, there they are. We'll just have Yoshi photoshopped on a beat. I'll get Damp to whip that up. We'll do that for a Twitter post. Podcast listeners will know it's a meme. Everyone else will be like, whoa.
What the hell? They're in Hawaii right now.
It's the real frog dragon from Mario. He
real
works at
Yoshi?
Valve. That's crazy.
Yeah, we could definitely do it. I mean,
I also like my timeline adjacent, by the way, for that as well. Would be ridiculous to think, right? Like, imagine Nintendo just swoop in and try like sue Valve. They're just like,
I've heard that Yoshi's been making your game. He's part of our property, you know?
You've been using our brand and images because it is just one for one, like the Yoshi character portrait. I know, like technically, I guess if on a forum you could use whatever icon you want, but I do wonder if Nintendo would be like, fucking Valve. You know what I mean?
You've got Yoshi in the sweatshop making Valve games, are you?
Right, that's it. Mr. Nintendo, John Nintendo, is going to go to Hawaii and have a fight with Yoshi.
So what's going to happen is that we're going to find on the forum change his name to Yosh, and it's going to be some Temu bootleg looking Yoshi character. It's Yosh.
Oh mate, it's me, Yosh.
He's currently viewing a thread changing heroes in sandbox are broken right now.
Oh,
he's having a good time. Yeah.
Nice. He's on it. He's always on it. To be fair, it is mad. Like, that's the other thing, right? Like, obviously, I think in reality it needs to be said, if it is coming up towards this time of year, I think like 17th of April, whatever it is, when the company goes on holiday for their April Hawaii trip, fair play to them. Being a Valve developer and having to deal with the lashback of the consistent complaints and moaning from both communities, well, all three communities, well, all of their single-player games as well. Everyone's always so angry. I know Valve fans are some of the most passionate people in the planet because we're some of them as well. And we really do like to get into the nitty-gritty of it. But people blur that line of being excited for something versus being hypercritical. So I think, if anything, but they probably do need some time off. Like, the CS community is just always flaming. The Deadlock community, as much as right now I'm going to say it's not as bad, they are starting to get that way where they do love being upset when something changes, which I thought people kind of understood. Like, we don't have to be upset because that's the idea of the game. It's going to change a lot. It's starting to swing more in the, what do you mean you change something? Which I think everyone needs to chill out, let the Valve guys go on holiday, let them come back refreshed. We'll get a major update or something, and then we'll go from there. But I think, again, but like, you know what I mean? They probably do need some time off.
Yeah. It has been an unbelievable amount of work that Valve's been doing since last year on Deadlock. I mean, if you're here around about August time and you were experiencing the patches back then, the length of those patches were insane. I'm very happy that Valve are currently getting to the point in the game where they're quite happy with how things are going, and this is more a point now where we're trying stuff out, trying to figure out what works, what doesn't, and then go from there. Because again, I think that there was points where we were like, "What is this?" To now we're very much in the right direction. We're going to the right train station right now. We're going to get off. We're going to be very happy. We'll all have our deadlock pins. That'll be a good time.
We were a little bit scared. There was a couple of things where I think patches were getting a bit weird for a while, but now like we're through the other side of the tunnel.
Yeah,
we popped out the back. Like New York's it's in the eye line. It's right there. Like it's coming up. Yeah, I think it's really good. Again, man, like it is crazy as well when you think about even the nature of, like we say, we're coming up towards around about a year, guys. I think May 18th towards first week of May roughly is kind of when the very first friends and family invites for the game went out. Then you had the first wave of invites. And obviously, for a lot of you that weren't around back then as well when we were all playing, that was when every day for the start times for the test, Yoshi would wake up at different hours for EU, NA, and would say when the servers were going live manually.
He's a good lad.
Because people said, like, oh, I like it when you do it manually. So imagine that, like the weird anxiety. I remember when he would miss it by a couple minutes, or like it wouldn't be there because his alarm wasn't set. And we always used to joke about it, but it like straight was real. Like the guy was just waking up, having his phone set for different time zones just to say we're turning the servers on in a minute. Like the game had one of the weirdest and wildest development periods.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't have existed. I think that's the thing. It's like Deadlock, the way it works never should have happened. But they've made it work, and it's crazy where we are now, nearly a year later. Like it's madness.
Yeah, they're doing a good job. They're doing a good job of it, and I think that the good job will only continue once they're back from that holiday, of course. But overall, it's been a nice time. Weird development cycle, very weird development cycle. But they've struck gold somehow. And I'm happy about that.
What we need to do, right, by the way, is we have to go get a fake tan. So for context as well, Blank's going away. He's doing an event for a different video game.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we'll probably video game.
We'll do something else. Maybe I'll get a guest on. I'm going to see. I mean, you might get Gabe Follower on for the pod next week. We'll see if he's available. So that could be fun. But when you're back, what we should do is we should both tan. Get a fake tan.
Dude,
we'll put green screens up, right?
Like 30 degrees where I'm going.
There you go. We'll set that up so we've got the green screens behind. We'll do an episode called
In Hawaii.
Dead Air in Hawaii. Yeah. We have the beaches behind coconuts and just like non-shot the whole time. We just feel like, yeah, it's great. We've just been on the company trip.
I need to get a fan out as well. Just like blow my hair in the wind.
Oh, mate. Just get the cats holding big leaves.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm down.
That'd be that'd be good.
Yeah,
there you go.
The
That's
water
what
in the
we'll
coconut.
Do. Yeah, so that's their little spoiler for you there, guys. You get the Hawaii episode. That'll be coming out soon. That's good. That's good content.
Episode 23.
Yeah.
Dead Air in Hawaii.
Dead Air in Hawaii.
Yeah. Don't forget, or you'll be surprised. You'll be surprised.
Yeah. If you ain't watched to the end of the podcast, see, now we've done it the other way around, where you all complain, saying, I hate it when they have all the fluff at the beginning. Now it's at the back. Now you're not going to know.
Yeah.
You're going to be out of the loop, idiot.
Hey, you'll be finished. By the time you get it, it'll be finished.
It's be over.
Yeah.
I think, right. Also, I've got one other thing for you before we start to close this one down for the day. Did you know that every single one of the ability icons in Deadlock, for all the items and for a majority of the abilities, aren't original?
I think I heard something about this.
Yeah. So basically, the modding community found them all. They're on it's a website that's called like freegameicons.com or something like that. But basically, they're all just like open available assets. Because basically, there was a Fortnite update, and someone found that the icon they'd use for the bees was like Hollow Point Ward or something like
amazing.
that. And they were just like, whoa, what? Who had it first? Then everyone found out that every single icon, including Unstoppable, by the way. Remember, we always thought like, oh yeah, it's like a sick meme because it's Aang from Avatar. No, just straight up was just Aang from Avatar. Ripped. Yeah.
Look, dude, if you want to get a Game of Deadlock done, you gotta cut some corners. I don't think they've cut a lot of corners, but in some areas I respect it. That's a lot of icons to be getting the old art team on.
I think more importantly, this does hammer home the message. Obviously, we all got so used to it where like items are just those. But we've said multiple times that probably are just placeholders. Like, you've literally got the posters in the map for what the new items probably are going to look like. It just makes sense that if all of them are not original assets, they will all be replaced eventually.
I hope they do it like in full color and stuff, dude. For like all the hero abilities, I'd like that.
Oh,
Yeah,
I didn't even think about that, like actual ability icons, because right now, obviously, they are just the circle with character. Like, Ava is just a cat, smiley cat.
For some reason, I'm like super big on like the squares. You have the 4 squares.
Really loves squares. Actually,
I'm a really big fan of squares right now.
I'm thinking about.
I'm
like,
outing myself
if you take a square and then another square, and then I'm thinking even if you put a square on top of that.
I'm thinking 4 squares. Yeah, right now.
That's crazy, bro.
They might keep it as circles. I don't know. I quite like how the circles work because it does open up a little bit of screen space.
Don't want to get sued by Mojang.
Yeah, that's true.
Nintendo.
Can't use squares. Yosh is not looking great right now. Not looking too hot.
Dead craft.
He's nervous.
Imagine Valve sign a new developer. It's called Steve. It's just got a pickaxe.
Oh my god. They're stealing from all developers around the world. Yeah, that would be funny.
We've added crafting to the game.
Yeah, it's actually the thing we've called it's a crafting bench, right? Kind of unconventional. It's in the subway. All right. It's just an actual bench, but you craft upon it.
You take 2 items, you craft them together. You get a different item, not quite as good as either.
Right, we're just doing upgrades with extra spirit and extra charge
with extra steps.
Spirited charger that just charges your phone. But
spirit
wireless.
Charger. Yeah, it's like wireless charging, but in the Deadlock universe.
You got to do rituals to it to get your phone to 100%.
That'd be kind of zig, dude. Not gonna lie.
I'd be like.
So I mean, these are big ideas. This is what they need to hear.
So what I need my Deadlock pin and my spirit charger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you're set. Then you live.
It could just be a power bank, dude, and they could spruce it up a bit. That's a free idea for Valve.
Yeah, but Spirit Bank.
Spirit Bank. Oh my god, that would be even better. I could have a little vault on it.
Actually, that's a pretty good rename for extra charge. Spirit Bank. Store some spirits.
Store spirits in there. Get some more banks.
Slap it on.
Bank some charges.
I do also. This is kind of out of left field, but I do also wonder. You've played Risk of Rain, right? Like Risk of Rain 2.
Yes.
You know how whenever you pick up individual items, it would add the item to your character model, so you could see like, vaguely that guy's got like.
I know you're going
like ukulele and all that stuff, right? Yeah, but imagine that if like the items were displayed, so visually I could see what you have.
Duct taping them to your character.
No, but like, to a degree, maybe. I mean, imagine if I could look at your model and I see you've got like a shield, and I know that's Divine Barrier floating there.
Calico's wearing shield already. She's got Divine Barrier.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, right? Or you're just like, look, that Wraith's got extra charge because she has a spirit bank. Sticking out her back pocket.
Yeah, I mean,
it's just an idea, bro.
I wouldn't hate it in terms of visibility. I would hate it in terms of ruining the character model. But
I don't think it'd be that bad though. You could make it work. They don't have to be gigantic. And remember as well, there's not that many items.
Every character gets a utility belt. They just appear on the belt
per character. Yeah, true. There you go. Boom. Slap them on. Bandolier.
Yeah, item belt.
A long Abram's tail on Dynamo's nipples.
Let's have a little look. What?
What?
What was that?
On Professor Dynamo's nipples.
On his hex bolts.
Yeah. Can you imagine unscrewing those? Stop! Aaron, no! Mate. Right, that's mental. I think that's enough. End it there. We've gone off the deep end.
Hex bolts.
Get your hex bolts.
We'll be bringing back later in the podcast. But till then, we'll catch you guys later, I suppose.
You'll have to WD-40 me. I'm all seized up. And then he just ults everywhere. I'm ulting!
Screw me back up!
Oh, mate, that's mental. Right, well, there you go. Okay, Hawaii fans, thanks for
Yes.
tuning into another episode of Dead Air Podcast. The Banger Patch, I think it's a good one. Actually,
It is.
You know, now you've heard this, take all our opinions and regurgitate them to your friends as if they're your own, and you'll sound like mad smart. It'll be sick. But there you go. That's another episode. I think, again, man, like they kind of owned it. Really enjoyed this patch. Summary of this one, I think it's good.
Yeah.
Excited to play more. Looking forward to getting into there. Blank will be back soon. The podcast.
See you in a couple of
He's
weeks. Yeah.
only away for a bit, so it won't be that bad. But yeah, otherwise we'll catch you in the next one. We're going to be doing a food eating challenge.
Yeah.
We're not really.
We might.
Puncture. Yeah. All right then. See you in Hawaii.
That's
Bye.
that. Bye.
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 Double-handed there.
Bye.
Bye.
Or as Lash would say, I'm stomping.